Hey everyone, it's your local white guy. I spent last week on the north rim of the Grand Canyon camping out with my wife and my parents. And I went to a presentation that was given about um, Navajo myth, but it seemed to be about how Navajos use um, their creation of blankets and rugs to convey um, their culture. And what I started to notice during the presentation was how little culture I actually have had in my own life. I started to look at my connection with um, the food I eat, the language I speak, specifically language, because my language for me, English, is basically a means to an end. Whereas the Navajo, and I've noticed also other cultures, specifically when I start thinking about my kids who have a Latin heritage and come from places like Mexico or Central America, there's more of a connection to their language than I ever had with mine. I've actually never really thought too much of my language. It's just kind of always been there. But I noticed when I started to take some Spanish in places like Nicaragua that the language was just, it meant something more to the people and the way they went about living their lives, that it's really actually quite hard to explain because I've never had it. And to see people who have a actual relationship and a love for their language was quite an eye opener for me, because it never something it just never really occurred to me that it would be something that would be important or viable in my life. But once I started to reflect on what I really didn't have as far as connections to not only my language but my ancestors, beyond my great grandparents, was really revealing on many levels as far as what I guess the word would probably be a shallow existence on some levels that I'd really have led. I'm an American. I have European ancestry in places like Germany, Austria, and Poland, but I don't know really anything about German as far as the language, or even Polish. My father was raised speaking Polish, but I never had the opportunity to basically learn the language as a youngster. And so just reflecting on those things, I think has given me some insight to what is going on a larger picture, maybe within the United States, and particularly with white folks at this moment. The anger we see on the streets, and the protests, and the alt-right, and neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, so on. They're claiming culture, and their culture is disappearing. But I would argue that they, not they specifically, but their culture was given up when folks came here and they were Italian and they were Irish and they were German and they were Polish. They gave that up to become white, and with whiteness comes privilege and power on some levels, but it also leaves a void, and that void, I believe, is a missing connection within our lives. And there's I don't know, I think there's an emptiness within us because of that. We're desperately in need of some sort of connection, and we don't really have any. And so what do? We cling to the one thing that gives us some sort of, I don't know, unearned benefit or standing, and that is whiteness. And whiteness basically has been the thief of culture in our lives and the thief of connection. And so these are just some of the things I've been thinking about lately. And, there's not really any replacing that void, or filling that void, I should say, or replacing that experience that we've never had, other than really starting to listen and observe the connections that other people have with their culture, and using that really as inspiration to, I don't know, kind of search for more substance and meaning within our own lives, and make connections that we may not even be aware that the opportunity is there with our land, the land that we now occupy, and our own language, quite frankly. So, just some things I've been thinking about lately. I'll talk to you next time, and we'll keep delving into it. All right, bye.